You're listening to Chicago Stories, a podcast from City Hall featuring the stories of everyday Chicagoans, as told to Mayor Rahm Emanuel.
This is Mayor Rahm Emanuel with Sheryl Sandberg from Facebook on Chicago Stories to talk about work, family, and technology.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Mayor.
Well, not only having you, but I love you, but we really love the new jobs you're investing in.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing that.
Well, you are a loud voice for investing in Chicago, and we are a very happy employer here.
Good.
This was one of our first U.S. offices. We opened in 2007. I've been here many times, and we're growing and hiring.
Obviously, you and I know each other going back to our Clinton days. Talk about your not only your book Lean In, but how the policies you're talking about, how to make kind of being a parent and being an employee or employer not actually pull apart, but actually come together in kind of a unified way. We've done certain things in the city, but what's the goal?
Well, the goal is that we don't force people to choose between the job they need and the family they love. And I think businesses, cities, you've certainly done it, are increasingly recognizing that when we support people, they do better work. So these things don't trade off against each other. They build upon each other. I know you rolled out leave in the city of Chicago.
Family leave, yeah.
Congratulations. We're the only developed country in the entire world that doesn't offer paid maternity leave. We are one of the only countries in the world that doesn't offer paid family leave. So plans, I've endorsed the Family Act and the national level, but plans at the state level, the city level, the federal level that give people real leave to take care of themselves or sick family members, that give them real wage reimbursement are so important. It's also important not just what public policy does, but while we're waiting for public policy and working on public policy, what companies do.
Yeah, don't wait on Washington. Don't do that.
So you did it at a city level, and that's fantastic, and other people should follow and have followed. We do it at the company level. Very proud of the policies we offer. We give 6 weeks of family medical leave. We give 4 months of maternity and paternity leave. Very important.
I'll give you one other one to look at. Seriously, we actually did it all extended time for victims of domestic violence.
Well, that's hugely important.
Yes. I just proposed a 2% fee on house sharing that will go all into domestic violence services. So when tourists come to the city of Chicago, they'll be paying for new beds for victims of domestic violence, social work, and other types of services. But we've actually extended the leave to the victims of domestic violence who are city employees.
This is about supporting people when they're at their most vulnerable, and who are we as a society to do that? I'll give you another something I'm very excited about that was done in Chicago is bereavement leave. I learned the hard way when I lost my husband how important that leave is. We rolled out 20 days at Facebook for immediate family members. The University of Chicago just did it. Rolled out 20 days of bereavement leave for immediate family members who have lost someone, and that's an example I'm hoping other universities around the country follow.
Let me ask you, you obviously were exposed to bereavement given what happened to your husband. How do we get people, you, I, and others in positions where it's not just our experiences, although you got to use your experiences to influence what you do. And it's one of the things we're trying to do on early childhood is it doesn't have to be just our experiences that then open our eyes, but actually get opened in a different way so it's not just experiential that influences policy. Well,
we have to look at data, right? Your investments in education. I spoke a couple years ago at the commencement addresses for the University of Chicago's community colleges, all 10 of them together, meeting the people. I got to meet with the valedictorian of each school, and then obviously a lot of the students. They had incredible stories. Many of them were mothers. Many of them were immigrants, people who had come to Chicago 4 years before not speaking English, who had managed, again, these were the valedictorians, but then their classmates as well. We need to look at what we provide people and how it influences them. So we know that early educational experiences, early reading experiences are super important in childhood development. And I'm sure that's the data on which your plan to roll out pre-K education is based.
In the early childhood, if you're poor, you have Head Start. If you're financially comfortable, you can figure it out for your children. If you work, your kids are actually caught in the middle, which is why we're going to go to universal pre-K, because I actually don't think it's fair to have parents try to go pick up kids at 12. And actually, our half-day program was not working for parents. It was actually forcing them to stay home, where we got to make sure if you work, you actually have all the benefits that either families that can take care of their own kids or the government provides for poor. It was actually, we were penalizing people in both places.
That's really important. I'll tell you something else we looked at Facebook. We rolled out a $15 minimum wage, so we have a living wage, not just for employees, but for our contractors. We did this a number of years ago.
So using your purchasing power to drive other social change.
And it was hard. At first, people said, well, we have thousands of contracts. Some of them aren't up for renewal. You can't renew them. And we said, oh, yes, we can. And we went back to the contractors and they said, but we work for lots of companies. And if we pay your people more, it's going to put wage pressure on the others. And we were like, exactly. We want that wage pressure. Companies like ours, they can afford it. We should be treating people fairly, including our contractors.
Let me go to a different topic, Sheryl, which is there's a lot of pressure now and some people talking about the big five in technology. How are you guys as a company navigating kind of a different regulatory environment? I know Europe's in a different place from the United States. What is Facebook's kind of theory of the case? Where do you think regulation's going? And how do you guys approach it?
Our theory of the case is that we have a very deep responsibility to protect people who use our service, whether that means safe content on our service, it means protecting their data, it means ensuring the integrity of elections, it means making sure people see real information, not misinformation. We have a large platform and things have happened on our platform that shouldn't have happened, and we're taking that responsibility very seriously. As part of that, we're in conversations with regulators all over the world, and we're open to different forms of regulation, but we're not waiting for that regulation. The most likely bill that could pass in the U.S. Congress right now is called the Honest Ads Act. It provides for more transparency around ads. We're both supporting that bill, but more importantly, we already built and launched the tool, and it's up and running. So right now, you can go on Facebook, and you can see any political ad. You can see, even if that ad isn't targeted to you, what ads people are running where. So it's a much more transparent and open system. And just part of our commitment to make sure we are protecting people's data and making sure that we are protecting the information people have on Facebook.
Are you guys worried about antitrust in this environment?
People have a lot of choices. If you're going to go share a photo today, you could do it on Instagram or Facebook. You could also do it on other photo sites, messaging apps, But the real responsibility we have is to make sure that people use Facebook and they use it safely and we protect their data. And we're working very hard to make sure that's true.
Now, both of us went through, obviously, you worked for Larry Summers when we worked together, and I worked for the President, Clinton. And every day was a fire drill. And I always said, and all the hydrants are up. In the last kind of 18 months, what would you say you've learned of crisis management? And if you were to write a manual or go back into Harvard and MBA, teach your program, what would you say were the lessons you take away of the last 16 months as it relates to crisis management?
I gave the MIT graduation speech 2 weeks ago, and I really talked about some of the things we've learned. And I think the most important thing at Facebook we've learned is that when you build technology and you believe so much in the good you're seeing, you also have to be prepared and prevent the bad use cases. And I think if you go back a decade and look at how we built Facebook, we have and still have a very strong belief that when people have voice, people can share. That makes the world more connected. But when you give people voice, some people will raise their voice in hatred. And a lot of people will do a lot of good on a platform, but some people will try to do bad. And I think we underinvested in preventing against the bad because I think we didn't see the risks clearly enough. And I think having a very broad view and thinking, look, what is the worst thing someone could do and what are the steps we take to prevent it is super important. I told the graduates as well that we also have to continue to believe in technology, that the world can feel very divisive. Certainly we have unbelievably big challenges at the national level, at the global level. Lifespan is also dramatically better. 100 years ago, people lived till 35. Life expectancy was 35 years for 2 billion people. Today, it's 70 for 7 billion people. We've made more progress eradicating global poverty in my lifetime than we have in all of human history. There are still really big challenges, and those of us who work on building technology need to build technology that helps meet those challenges, but also protects us at the same time.
So why did you pick, and I want to say this, I want to thank you not just for adding jobs, but also for what we're doing on the technology for the community college system. Why did you guys pick on the Coding Chicago? So
we've just announced a couple weeks ago our pledge to train 1 million people in small businesses in digital skills in 2020, by 2020 throughout the United States. And you and I were just talking about this. A lot of this happens in our metropolitan cities as well as in our rural communities around the country. A lot of what's happening is happening at the local level. So we're visiting 50 cities by the end of the year with our Community Boost, and we're coming back to Chicago to do a small business boost event. But we also know we need local partnerships. So today we're announcing 2 local commitments in Chicago. We're working with Chicago Codes to provide tuition-free technology development and coding academy. And we're working with the Chicago City Colleges.
We're happy.
And you've put a lot of muscle behind the city colleges, and we're busy working with them. We know that people need jobs. And when you ask people what's important in hiring people, today they will say that digital skills are more important than where you went to school. School is still super important, and all your initiatives of that are important. But it's not just any degree. It's also, and you've emphasized this, technical degrees and technical understanding.
One of the things you should know, we're the only community college system that is got a cybersecurity with the armed forces. So all the veterans coming, and so we bought the platform. Veterans will do it, and now we're doing it at our community colleges together for 6 months. Kids are getting degrees in cybersecurity and being out making $75,000, $85,000 a year. And I actually think part of the, and I would actually challenge, this is for everybody, one of the big pushes behind the community colleges. We talk about diversity as either ethnicity, race, gender, sexual orientation. We should also include the educational diversity, meaning that it may not be DePaul, it may not be Notre Dame, it may not be University of Illinois, it may not be University of Michigan, but a graduate from Wright Community College can succeed at Facebook, at all the, and also true, City of Chicago.
That's right. And you can't talk about cities and economic growth and people's opportunity without focusing on small businesses. So the majority of jobs that are created in the United States are not created by big companies. They're created by small businesses. We have hundreds of thousands of small businesses in Illinois itself on Facebook. And today I get the opportunity to meet with some of them. So these are not necessarily tech companies. These are companies
what are you guys doing with them?
Well, what we're doing is training so that they can continue to grow and hire. 42% of the small businesses on Facebook in the U.S. say that since they've joined Facebook, they've grown their sales because of Facebook, and then they hired. So, you know, small businesses like Manuel's, they make Manuel's business called Verspachos. They make authentic Mexican desserts. No, I'm not actually, because it's not Emmanuel.
Okay.
It's not your name. There's no E.
I just want to make sure, because I'm susceptible to being sucked up
but I would
on
not
that
do
one.
that.
You would not do that, Cheryl.
I would not do that.
Okay,
But
just out of a random 10,000 small businesses in Chicago, you picked Manuel's.
hundreds of thousands of small businesses, yes. Big Manuel's, but they're employing 12 more people.
Yeah, because since Facebook.
They're marketing on Facebook. You know, I've met all over the country with the local baker, the local florist, the local plumber, who will develop the technical skills of just marketing on Facebook. And then they grow and they're able to hire. And that's what invests in communities. And we know this. It's our local businesses, our small businesses that are hiring, that are growing, and something at Facebook we're very proud to invest behind.
Let me jump back to one other thing. Were you surprised at the success of Lean In?
Yes.
I mean, were you surprised? Why?
Yeah, very much.
Did you when you wrote it, did you think it would, like, as a book, people would gravitate and become such a conversational piece and actually a discussion item beyond just among women, but also just about how the workplace is organized?
I mean, I wrote Lean In because I saw what was happening and I saw the data, which is that the progress women were making to get leadership roles was stagnating. And by the way, it is still stagnating. Women are 5% of the Fortune 500 CEOs. Women are 20% of the Senate, 19% of the Congress. I mean,
women are 60% of the mayor's cabinet.
There we go.
Okay.
There we go. But what percent of the mayors are there? It's very small all over the country. And so I wanted more women in leadership roles. And I really believed what's been even more important to me than the success of the conversation are really the Lean In Circles. So Lean In Circles is a program my foundation provides for free. 6 to 10 women, sometimes men, we're welcome to open to everyone. Join a group. We provide all the information for free online. It's at leanin.org. And you can meet once a month to support each other in your ambitions. We wanted 1,000 circles. That was our goal 5 years ago. We have 37,000 circles all over the world. We grow by over 100 a week.
Did you think, though, that Lean In would be precursor or ahead of the curve on the whole Me Too movement in the sense of changing the workplace, changing the kind of culture around the workplace and the discussion, or you didn't think there's two separate events?
I knew I was totally surprised by how many people read Lean In. You write a book, you never know if anyone's going to read it. But I wanted that change, right? I mean, this is about women having more voices. What do we know? We know women have been sexually harassed in the workplace for a really long time. What's the answer to that? The answer to that is to stop sexually harassing them. But the other answer is more women in leadership roles. We know that if you give out 2 resumes, exactly identical resumes, one with a white-sounding name, one with a black-sounding name, that white-sounding name is worth 8 years of experience because it gets 50% more callbacks. These are the biases and discrimination that are not just holding back women and people of color, they're holding back everyone. Because more diverse teams, your cabinet is going to be better performing.
Once you have you change the culture and you take these sexual politics out and people get evaluated. Once you have a woman who's head of a department, the ability to use position or power changes dramatically and people get evaluated totally different.
Yeah, and you have to. But we have to be committed to that. We have to be committed to fair and equitable workplaces, to harnessing the benefits of diversity. So not just hiring people, promoting them, nurturing them, mentoring. And we have to really want.
Do you think, let me ask you, do you think women do a good job of that?
So what the data shows unequivocally is that the biases, the biases that face women are held by women and men. So little boys are almost never called bossy. I just spoke this morning to a crowd of 16,000 people in Chicago. You ask the whole room. If you're a man, raise your hand if you were called bossy as a little boy. One hand went up. If you're a woman, raise your hand if you were called bossy as a little girl. All the women's hands go up, right? Boys are not called bossy. Right. Girls are called bossy. Who's calling them bossy? Not just men. Women are calling them too. The biases we face are held by women as well as men. Yeah. They're deep and they're cultural, but they change. You can walk up to any little girl on any playground in Chicago this weekend and you hear someone call her bossy and you say, that little girl isn't bossy. That little girl has executive leadership skills.
I would say, as active in this, is that the conversation about how to change it has to be directed at everybody. It's
correct.
Not okay. If we're going to make fundamental changes,
absolutely.
Your staff,
women as well as men.
So we have a rapid round on Chicago. I hope they briefed you.
Oh my God, they did not brief me. I know.
You can handle this. It's not in a memo.
Don't ask me about any sports teams, please.
That's the first question.
No.
Cubs or Sox? It's not that hard.
Cubs.
Okay, that's
yes.
Okay. Thick or thin pizza?
Oh, definitely deep dish Chicago pizza. It's like my favorite thing in the whole world. And I hear it's because the pans have been used. Like I was like, why can't they just make this in another city? They told me last time I was here it was the pans.
No,
they've been using the pan for like 20 years, and so the stuff is in the pan.
And it's built into it.
It's the best.
Ready? Lake or river?
Lake.
Okay. It's okay. Don't worry about it. The Sears.
Are there both?
Yeah.
Did I mess that one up?
Yeah, you messed that up.
Oh,
Don't
sorry.
worry. All your employees here love the river too, and like you'll see it. It's actually the Financial Times just called it the best new park in America.
Okay.
We did a river walk this November. We have separated the bike and running path on the lakefront all 18 miles.
Nice.
The north-south, all 18. Sears Tower or Hancock. There's only two, so you can't pick one. Nobody's going to. There's no.
Is both fine?
No.
Hancock.
Okay, that was. You got to stop looking at. This is also going to, we're the inventor of, so I'll give you a precursor of 16-inch softball, but we have a big 16-inch softball or 12-inch softball. And there's no way you could say 16, so I'm going to help you.
It's 12.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's not 12.
It's 16.
That's one you prefer, but 12.
You prefer that. Got
it.
I don't really play softball. But if I did, I'd probably play it in Chicago.
I want to thank you, Sheryl Sandberg, for being on Chicago Stories, and more importantly, for what you're doing, not just at Facebook, but around the country, investing in what you believe in.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
You've been listening to Chicago Stories with Mayor Rahm Emanuel. You can subscribe and leave a review on Apple Podcasts and tweet your guest ideas using #ShyStories. Thanks for listening.